What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and let's get straight into things. So I highly suggest you go and watch yesterday's video where I outlined my expectations for the week as a whole, because I'm not going to be explaining everything in detail again. Yesterday's video was only about 13 minutes long, so you can go check that, and then I suggest you come back here. So here we have an implied fair value gap on the weekly. I brought our attention to that in yesterday's video, and then you can see that today we've already traded into this weekly fair value gap and closed it in as well. So let's drop down to the down to the daily, and you'll see that price closed in this fair value gap, this liquidity void, very nicely today, just as anticipated. I did post a trade execution video, you can go watch that. So yeah, we traded, closed in this fair value gap, and we're just coming off the high of the fair value gap right now, which is right here. And you'll see we also traded up into this order block level, which I also brought our attention to right here. So the fact that we haven't had a strong reaction straight off of it is saying to me that price may want to continue higher. And there is a 4-hour imbalance in this weekly implied fair value gap that I do have my eyes set on. If you recall in yesterday's video, I brought our attention to this small fair value gap right here, and I was stating our price may want to draw up to this. And the fact that we have FOMC this week, I am expecting a lot of manipulation, as in we may see rallying at the beginning of the week, and then we may witness a large reversal. So I'll start speaking about that once we get to the 4-hour, but on the daily, you can I just want to review what happened today. So if we look at the imbalance right here and drag that out, you'll see how price continued to respect that before trading higher. So here's Friday's price action. We traded through it and away from it, and then you'll see that today we failed to take out Friday's low. We traded down to the 50% level of Friday's wick, and I'll just show you that now. So you'll see how we traded to that 50% level, and then we aggressively traded higher, again intending and successfully closing in this fair value gap. So what am I expecting moving into the new day? Well, to be honest, we should continue to expect bullishness, as we have that weekly implied fair value gap and a daily bearish order block up here. So I am looking to see price trade higher, but like I said, we do need to be careful with FOMC and everything. So until I'm proven otherwise, as in until I see some kind of break to the downside, I am going to continue to remain bullish. And yeah, moving into tomorrow, I'm going to be watching how we trade around Friday's high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out the high wick of Friday, like so. And to be honest, if price respects this in the early stages of tomorrow, then I'd expect us to trade higher and run into Monday's high and start working our way up towards that implied fair value gap. There is also a breaker, a daily breaker here. We've got a high, a low, a higher high, and then price is delivered to the downside. So I am also looking at this breaker right here, which we haven't quite traded into yet. So this may be another level that price may be drawing to, but overall I am expecting a continued rally. So let me just make this black, and then let's go down to the 4-hour, and we can take a better look at price action. So you'll see how we had a slight consolidation, and then today we came lower, creating the low during London, and then we expanded just as expected into a nice bearish order block right here. We are just getting a nice reaction off that right now. You'll see we traded into that. But if we are to trade higher, then price should continue to respect this. And remember, this is that daily high wick, but you can also see there's a bullish order block here as well. So price is okay to come down, trade into this high, completely fine. But I do expect price to want to run up these highs one more time before we see some kind of break lower. Furthermore, there is a nice fair value gap right here on the 4-hour, so I'm going to get that delineated as well. We'll make this one blue. And then I do want to bring ourselves to some relative equal highs that have formed above this high here. Let's just shorten this. So what you'll find is that we have buy side liquidity now up here. And the reason I'm bringing our attention to that is because there's relative equal highs. A high above this and a high above this swing here as well. So moving into tomorrow, I want to see price run into these highs and potentially trade up into this breaker. Remember, this is that daily breaker I was talking about, and fair value gap, so there's a couple there. And then I'd like to see how price reacts. If we have a nice strong reaction away from this fair value gap, then I'd start looking for shorts for the rest of the week, moving into Wednesday, where we would likely start trading into these lows. But yeah, overall on Tuesday, I want to see us trade up into this buy side liquidity, fill this fair value gap, and if by say New York session we've already traded into this fair value gap and we're seeing like a nice reaction away from it, as in resistance, then I'd expect another New York reversal where we'd see an expansion lower. So I hope that makes sense. Now this fair value gap up here on the 4-hour, although I do anticipate price to eventually trade up to it, as in I do want to see price get up there, the likelihood of us reaching that so early in the week is very unlikely. So That's why I'm just watching this level now, and you'll see how this week I'm starting to stage my delivery. So let me break that down for you. So on the daily, yesterday I said I wanted to see us fill in this fair value gap and trade into this low. Now that's done. So now I'm looking at the next premium PDA rate as to what price should trade to. So on the 4 hour, like I said, we have a nice fair value gap here coupled with a daily breaker. So this is my next target. Once we trade to that, if price still wants to hang around, my next target will simply be this 4 hour fair value gap, and then we have some beautiful relative equal highs on the hourly resting above here. But like I said, because this is such a high premium, price may not want to go up there straight away. We may want to come to this fair value gap, move lower, grab sell side liquidity below these lows, grab sell stops, and then offset them up here at the end of the week. So that's how I'm looking at the week in general. But moving into Tuesday, all we need to worry about now is watching if price continues to respect this before we trade into that. Once we trade into this fair value gap, and if we see a reversal, then we can start thinking about us trading through these levels and looking for these stops as sell side liquidity. But remember, guys, we are still on the buy side of the curve. We should be looking for buy side premium PDA rates to be traded through and to and through. So that's everything on dollar. I hope that makes sense. Now let's head over to Euro USD, and I'm going to start here on the weekly as well. And you'll see how we're trading lower just as expected. Now again, fair value gap, I drew our attention to this in yesterday's video. Go and watch it if you haven't. We have traded into this fair value gap. I'm not really paying much attention to this one purely because I expect to get traded through, and it did very quickly. So this is my target in general in terms of seeing continuation to the downside. So we filled that in, very nice to see. And if you go to the daily, you'll see we traded higher, running out Friday's high, traded into a mitigation block right here, and then price traded away from it and started trading lower. So this is what I traded in today's video, which I dropped earlier. You should go check that out. But this is a mitigation. We've got a high, low, lower high, and then price is delivered to the downside. So once we traded into that, that was a nice shorting opportunity, and you can see how we just closed lower as well. So I am expecting continuation lower. We have relative equal lows below Monday's low and this Thursday low from a long time ago. And then that fair value gap on the weekly is also a bullish order block on the daily. So I am expecting price to continue to push lower and start running into this implied fair value gap that we have right here as well. So this stays in line with our expectation for higher prices on dollar. If we drop down to the 4 hour, we can get a better look at price action. So we traded higher, clear break in market structure right here. Very nice to see. And then what I'm looking for now is the breaker. Well, we have a high, we have a low. We have a higher high, and then price is broken to the downside. So now this should act as a breaker block, and price may want to trade up into that before it trades lower. Now it doesn't have to do that, and the reason it doesn't have to do that is because we have this order block as well right here, and this is something for you guys to go and study. So the fact that we traded and closed below this bearish candle, this down candle, means that price doesn't need to come all the way back into this range before we trade lower. It very well could just respect the 50% level of this and then trade lower from there onwards, and that's completely fine if it does that. We may see that happen during the Asian session. We may see us trade into that and then continue lower, rushing towards these lows. What's nice to see as well is on the 4 hour we have a fair value gap right here that I do believe is going to get traded to. So let's just get that marked out. We'll make this white, and again, depending on how dollar's trading, if we start trading higher on dollar, we want to be looking for shorts on the pairs. Obviously, relative equal lows residing just below here. Very nice to see. Sell side liquidity. And yeah, I'm expecting a bearish day in general tomorrow. So I'm looking for the high to get made in London or around Asia session, and depending on how weak we are, price should just run straight lower and carry on falling into its fair value gap. Let's go to the hourly just to get a better look at price action. You can see you made a high, a low, a higher high, creating the high of the day, traded lower. So that's why I'm bringing our attention to this swing low and this order block here, as giving us opportunity to start looking for shorts for the rest of the day or for tomorrow to run into these relative equal lows. So it seems like quite a clean setup on Euro, to be honest. It should be pretty easy going. I say easy going. But yeah, we also have these stops below here, here, and here. So price is going to want to, create some kind of swing likely before we start attacking these lows. But we'll obviously have to wait and see. So lower prices on Euro, and we're expecting to see that happen as we can see dollar continue to rally above this buy side liquidity and reach into our fair value gap. But remember, there is potential for us to reach up here depending on how bullish we want to be. So yeah, tomorrow should be very interesting. And remember, we do have we do have FOMC on Wednesday. So this kind of manipulation is in terms of seeing us rally one way and then seeing a big switch midweek is nothing is nothing irregular for price. Like, this is all behavior we're used to. So I'm going to finish on GBP. That's interesting. I usually do GBP second, guys. And you can see GBP, there's bullish order block here. And you'll see GBP hasn't quite traded into the fair value gap that it has yet. So I'm looking at this bullish order block right here to get traded down into as a target on the weekly. If we go to the daily, you'll see how we fell lower today. Very nice to see. There is a daily fair value gap right here. We tapped into it, didn't quite fill it, and that order block on the weekly also lines up with an implied fair value gap right here. So that's very nice to see, as in I would like to see price trade into this level moving into tomorrow, as I believe we're going to have continued delivery to the downside. So I'm watching this fair value gap tomorrow, and we can drop down to the 4 hour, and you'll see how price is continuing to respect bearish PD arrays. So we have a bearish order block here, traded into it. What happened? We traded lower. We have a bearish order block here, drag that out. What happened? Traded into it, traded lower. We have a bearish order block here. So what should we anticipate? We trade into it so that we can trade lower. So you can see how price is continuing to respect bearish PD arrays, and we should continue to expect that to happen until we reach its target. And its target is going to be this imbalance because, one, it's a weekly bullish order block, and two, it's an imbalance. So once that's sufficiently traded, then we can start looking for reversals. Furthermore, we do have inflation rate announcements on Wednesday, so we can expect a lot of volatility once we get down here. But in terms of this order, in terms of looking for highs tomorrow, in terms of to trade off, we can look at this bearish order block. I'm going to look at the volume of it. We'll extend this to the right. And we're going to look at the midpoint, and you'll see the midpoint is already marked out with this level, so I'm just going to make that thicker for us to notice. I'll get rid of this and this. This is the very highest I expect price to trade if we're going to be trading lower tomorrow. So I'm happy for us to rally. Say we rally into London or rally into the Asian range, that's fine. But I'll be hunting for shorts with the expectation to run into the sell stops that are residing below here. We've got sell side liquidity residing below here and here now. And again, that fair value gap on the weekly, implied fair value gap. Let's go to the 1 hour. You'll see how we very consolidated on pound, not as clean as euro. You saw euro, just a nice swoop down. Pound's been a lot more consolidated, so we need to be careful with that. But in general, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some kind of slight rally before we move lower. Let's go to the 15 minutes and 5 minutes, see if we can see anything. Again, heavy consolidation, really not ideal price action. Let's go 5 minutes. This is quite ugly, actually. But yeah, moving into the new day, I'd like to see some kind of slight rally, and then I'll be looking for shorts to move lower into sell side liquidity below here, like I said, so long as dollar continues to find support. So in terms of going into your trading day tomorrow, you know, you have levels now that you can watch. If, say, dollar trades down through this level, and I'll show you this on the daily as well. If tomorrow dollar trades lower and trades through this wick, remember this is a wick we're watching. I'll go back to the 1 hour. If dollar trades through that and disrespects it, then we should start looking for these sell stops to get traded to. But until that happens, we should remain bullish because, one, there's a bullish order block here. We've been continuously respecting bullish PD arrays. You can see failures to take out lows. This low never took out this low. This low never took out this low. A fair value gap has formed on top of the wick. Like, there's continued support for higher prices. So that's why I'm looking for these relative equal highs to get ran tomorrow and that fair value gap to get traded to. If we're very bullish and they want to, you know, completely ram price up, they very well can, and that means we'll start targeting these relative equal highs and this breaker /4 hour fair value gap here, high, low, higher, high, and a break lower. So definitely something to watch out for tomorrow. And to be honest, euro looks like it's going to be the cleanest to trade tomorrow. Again, I want to see some kind of rally, selling above the open with the expectation to reach the sell side liquidity down here. But remember, this is only if dollar respects its PD arrays. So I hope this all made sense, guys. Make sure to join Discord. I've done a lot of discussion in there earlier today, explaining my understanding and what I'm watching. Smash subscribe. We're nearly at 1,000 subscribers. And check out my trade execution video. That is going to be linked in this video. So that's everything, guys, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.